Hey everybody, this is your friendly neighborhood author, Haley, and today I'm here to talk to you guys about something that I have been dwelling on for years. This has been years in the making, and this is what I call the 3 pillars to magnetic writing. And guys, if you have been following me for any amount of time, or if you're on our Zoom calls for the 60-day novel writing challenge, you might already know that I am not like a huge fan of highly structured writing. So what I mean by that is that I don't like being told that I need to have my inciting incident here, or that I need to meet my mentors here, or have the betrayal here in the story. I don't like being put into a box and told where each thing needs to happen. I feel like it really stifles my creativity personally. And so that is not how I write, and it's not how I teach. So what I want to present to you guys is not so much a structure of exactly how you're supposed to do things, but more of a guideline for when you are writing, what resonates really well with readers and what keeps them loving your book. And there are 3 main things, you guys. I have truly determined that I think it boils down to just these main 3. And that is emotion, immersion, and anticipation. So we're going to go through a little bit of each of these so I can kind of explain what I mean by these. But truly, these are the things that matter the most, because the emotion is what keeps your reader in the story, like actually feeling it. This is why we read, you guys. We read because we want to feel. So it's either feelings of joy and elation as your characters accomplish the impossible, or it's feelings of sadness when you have come to love a character so much and then you either lose them or they lose something that's important to them. We read because we want to feel. And so it is so important, you guys, that in every single scene we write, we have to have emotion packed in. And so we're going to talk a little bit about different ways that you can do that. But I want you guys to know that that is the first pillar, is that you have to have emotion in every single scene you write. Now the second one, we got emotion, immersion, anticipation. Immersion to me, you guys, just means good writing. So it means that the pacing is done really well. So your readers aren't like getting to a point where they've read so much description in a row that they're just like bored and skimming the book. We want them immersed at all times. And that can also mean making scenery that is so vivid that they feel like they're there, and developing the world in a way that your reader feels like they're there and it feels like something that they are living in real life. So I really chalk this up to good writing, because if you have dialogue that feels either clunky or just really corny, your reader is pulled out of that immersion. Or if you fail to develop a connection between the reader and the main character, so your reader never actually cares about them, you have lost the factor of immersion. So that is the second pillar, which is really, immersion is just good writing, you guys, is knowing how to show instead of tell, and make your readers see the vision that you want them to see, instead of just having a loose collection of words on the page that kind of convey something to them. Now the third pillar is not like the least important, because I've listed it third. It is just important. It's like a stool, you guys. It needs all 3. They all 3 have to be there in every scene, in every chapter, in order to keep your reader engaged. And the third one is anticipation. So this is what keeps your reader flipping pages. It's that forward looking, as they are looking forward to whatever it is that you have laid out for them. So it's foreshadowing that something really exciting is going to happen. So then your reader is flipping pages, really excited to get to that. Or it's the suspense of them trying to figure out what's going to happen. And so they keep flipping pages, trying to resolve the problem that you have put in front of them. So anticipation is the one that keeps your reader not putting the book down, because they know that something exciting is coming, because you've kind of told them that. You have told them that there is something to look forward to. And so this is what keeps them from putting your book down at a chapter break and never picking it back up. So the bottom line, guys, is that anticipation is the one that keeps them flipping pages in the current book that they're reading. They don't want to put it down because they need to know what happens next. Emotion is the reason that we read, because they want to feel something while they're reading. You know, you could have all the anticipation in the world, but what keeps them coming back for book 2 and every book that you write in the future is that they know that they felt something while they were reading your work. So they either felt a love for the characters, or the situation that your characters were in really resonated with them and really had an impact on those readers on an emotional level. So emotion is the one that will keep them coming back for more books in the future because they enjoyed your current one. And then immersion, you guys, is really just the skill of good writing, of portraying your characters, your scenes, your plot, your everything in a way that really keeps your reader grounded and makes that story feel like reality. So I'm not going to go super in depth about all of these because I don't want this to be a 6-hour video, but this is kind of just a short list of the elements that you can put into your storytelling that are going to accomplish these 3 pillars of magnetic writing. So we'll start with emotion first. Emotion is really accomplished when you have strong characters who your readers care about. That is one of the most important parts, is you have to develop a reason for your readers to care. And that can be by giving your character a struggle in the beginning or something that the reader really connects with and understands, and they've been through that. So that could be a character who's having a tough time in school, or maybe they're getting bullied, or some reason that our readers are going to start to root for them and want good things for them because they're seeing something that they can personally connect with and have experienced in their own life. They feel that strong connection to the character. Now, character relationships with each other are a really strong way to build emotion as well, because once you have a connection with one character, the connection that they have with others feels like your connection. It feels like your friendships, and it feels like your enemies and your family, and the love that your characters have for each other, or hatred, or whatever emotion you're trying to build, becomes real to your reader as well. And that can carry over into like villains. Having really strong villains who your reader can either relate to or really, really hates, that is a strong way to build emotion within your reader as well. And then when you have moments of arguments between your characters, or even as big as fight scenes or battle scenes, you have to have emotion woven into those too. So when you build that connection with the character and their connections with each other, then when you have those arguments and those fights break out, they feel very real to your reader. And on the flip side of that, it's the same when you're trying to build friendships or romances. When you have those strong connections built out between the characters, it feels like you have a strong connection between your reader and all of those characters too. So they feel those friendships as though they're real. And it makes the book a true experience for them. It's really just like the most exciting part is when you set a book down and you feel like you had real friends, or you had real enemies, or that argument that your characters just had with their best friend hurts inside. That is what lingers with you, is the emotion that you felt. Another way to create emotion is to have characters who are very proactive, because then you can actually root for them. You know, they're not just sitting back and waiting for things to happen. They're actually driving the story forward. And so you're able to go like, yeah, go accomplish the thing, because you have characters who are driving the story. That's a really good source of emotion too. There are so many, guys. I mean, you can write animals into your scenes. I love putting animals in mine because I love them a lot, which I know is not an everybody thing, but whatever. There are so many ways to incorporate emotion into your story. It is just extremely important that you are focused on it and you don't have a scene go by without any sort of emotion in it. Now we'll talk about immersion next, because immersion is kind of a fine balance. It's like a delicate dance, you guys, of coming up with so many details about your world, but only putting in the most important ones and the ones that make it feel real but don't slow your story down. So immersion, you know, I've said this already, it's just good writing. It's the ability to come up with details about your characters that are really cool and really unique, but also stick with the reader. It's not just something that breezes over them and they find boring. It's also finding the details about the world, knowing things about your culture and your climate and the people and the things that they export and whatever it is that goes into your world. And this is something that I want to add into, is that world building is for every genre. It's not just for fantasy and sci-fi. It's for romances, it's for thrillers, it's anywhere that still takes place on Earth. You're still doing the world building because you're building up the town where your chases are taking place, or you're building up the cozy little cabin nestled in the woods and like what the surroundings are like and what the atmosphere is like. You have to get those details into any genre. And so world building, even though it sounds like a sci-fi and fantasy fantasy term is really for everybody. And it's actually the same thing with maps. Maps can really help in any genre as well, as you flesh out the details of the terrain around the little cabin in your romance. It's knowing where the beautiful snow-capped mountains are and how the sun sets at night, which direction it's in, so that you're not getting those mixed up. Having those little sensory details is a huge part of immersion, but it is more than just that. It's more than your world and your characters. It's also things like good dialogue. So really developing the eye for how to write dialogue in a way that's interesting and not verbatim speech the way that we speak it, because the way we speak is not how true dialogue is like written in stories, because we speak so differently. Believe me, it's just different. It's about all of those little details in like the things that your characters carry with them and how they have sentimental value, which kind of goes back into emotion as well. But I also put that in immersion because it means that you've taken the time to think about the little details and make the world feel real, as whatever it is your character is carrying has real detail put into it and real things that your character loves and that your reader finds memorable. And it's also in the way that you write those descriptions. Again, this all comes back to just good writing, is not stopping to take paragraphs and paragraphs to describe something. At least in the genres that I write in, I, as a reader, don't love that. I start skimming over it. I get bored. I want things to be happening. So it's being able to write your descriptions through action. So instead of your character just pulling out the sentimental item and describing it to you, they are pulling out whatever it is. Maybe it's a sword, and they describe it on the way out of the sheath as they're about to attack somebody with it. So it's keeping those descriptions active. That really helps with the immersion factor of your story so that people don't start skimming and get bored with what's going on. And then as you describe things in really good detail, we can really get to know those characters on a deep level because you have fleshed them out really well. So we can start to really realize what their flaws are. And then we can start to see them grow as people when we have those flaws fleshed out. And when our readers are reading the dialogue of those characters, it feels real to them. It feels like something that somebody would say, but it's also interesting. And so they're still involved. They're not skimming through it. So there are just so many different things that go into the immersion factor, but it all boils down to just good writing in taking the time to really think about your scenery and your characters and your world and everything that goes into it, and then putting that onto the page in a way that keeps your reader immersed. And then the last pillar, you guys, is the anticipation factor. And the biggest part of this is just having a very strong central plot line that your characters are working on throughout the whole book. And so one of the really big parts is not straying from that either. So of course we want to have subplots too. So, smaller plots that your characters are working to accomplish as they work towards the bigger plot of the story. But sometimes we get caught up in those subplots and we forget about the main plot, and you need to keep that main plot in mind, because that is what keeps your reader flipping those pages. Is they want to know, is this character going to fall in love? Are they going to be killed by the bad guys? Are they going to escape from whatever it is they're running from? We need to have that anticipation, you guys. Otherwise, what happens is your reader kind of loses their interest in it. If you're just living in the moment with no forward looking, they don't know what's coming. And there's kind of a disconnect, because as writers, we know what's coming, right? We know that there is about to be the most epic battle ever in chapter 23, but the reader doesn't know that. And so if they don't have something to look forward to, if they don't have a reason to suspect that they're about to read the most epic battle ever, they might not ever get to it. So a really big part of adding anticipation into every book is having hints and clues and foreshadowing so that your reader knows what they're looking forward to. Another big thing is building strong obstacles in. So, if you're writing something like a cozy romance, your reader probably knows that your characters are going to fall in love by the end. So that isn't really your source of anticipation anymore. It's more the obstacles that you put in their way to get there. So you want to create that feeling of, oh my gosh, how are they possibly going to overcome this? Or like, what a betrayal. How will she ever trust him again? You have to get those obstacles in there. If the reader already kind of knows how the story is going to end, then that's another really great way to add that anticipation in so that your reader is then flipping pages going, how are they going to solve this? This is really difficult. But there is sort of the implied promise of a resolution. And so your readers will keep flipping pages until they get to that resolution, as long as there's good obstacles in the way, as long as they know that they have something to be looking forward to, and the plot doesn't veer too far off track, because then readers, you know, if we get too far off track and we start going into side stories and side quests that don't have to do with the thing that they're looking forward to, that's when they start to lose interest and they're like, have we forgotten that there's a resolution that we're looking forward to? We don't want to give them that feeling of almost being lost, like they've lost the plot, they've lost the reason that we're even telling this story. We want a concise story that keeps your reader in suspense and in anticipation as they look forward to what is going to happen. So I know that I just threw up a lot of things for you guys to be thinking about between emotion, immersion, anticipation, and all the different elements that go into making your writing magnetic. It's a lot. And that's what's really hard, is when you set out to write a novel, there are like 6,000 things to be figuring out, right? And so this is why, you guys, I created the 60-day novel writing challenge. Is I wanted to break it down so that each day you could just have one thing to focus on. So this, I just want to show you guys, this is the workbook that comes with it, which if you know me or if you don't know me, now you do. Everything I do is shiny. Everything either shines or has sparkle. It's very important to me. And then this is the checklist you get with it. I want to show you guys how simple this is. Every day you get a video from me and a homework assignment. And it all comes back to this idea of focusing on one thing each day. So on day one, it's just character development. And we're just filling out a personality quiz for your characters to figure out who they are and really get to know them on an in-depth level. That is going to help so much with emotion as you get to know who they are. And then it's gonna help with immersion as we get to know the characters, like what they look like on a detailed level, how they act, what their flaws are like. And then we have a day just working on their relationships to the other characters and how to build those in strong emotional ways, which is going to go towards the emotional pillar. So you guys, every single day has a specific theme. So we might be talking about fights and battles and arguments, or we might be talking about your character's flaws, or we could be talking about your world building. Every single day has a video from me, and they're short. It's like 5 to 10 minutes, so I'm not taking up all of your time. Your time is then spent writing. And during the first 15 days of the challenge, you're just coming up with ideas. So it's focus every single day to help you come up with ideas that will then go into the story. The second thing we do is we organize all of those ideas into an outline. That's going to take about 30 days as we go from idea generation to organizing them into an outline. And then the next 30 days are spent just writing the book. So the cool part of this, guys, is that the 60-day challenge is created so that if you do that homework every single day on that checklist I told you, watch my video, do the homework I give you, your novel will be done at the end of 60 days. So pretty cool. And I think really just the best part is that it breaks it down so it doesn't feel so overwhelming anymore. We also are gonna have a community for you guys, so you can join us in the Zoom calls every single week. We got a Facebook group where you can ask questions of your fellow 60-day novel writing challengers. You get the workbook, you get the checklist, and then the really cool thing is at the end, you get something called a 60-day novel writing challenge winner's pin. These are super excellent. I don't have one right here, so I'm just gonna put it up on the screen here for you guys. They are super cool though. I'm in love with them. Everybody who's gotten one already has loved them too. And they have the year on the top, and I did that on purpose so that you can take this year after year and write a new book every year and get a new pin that verifies that you accomplished the 60-day novel writing challenge. I don't know if that motivates you guys, but it motivates me to finish because it doesn't actually show up in your challenge box with the workbook and with the checklist. You have to finish the challenge and claim it at the end. It doesn't cost anything extra, but if you don't finish the challenge, you don't get the pin. So that was I'm super motivated by stuff like that. If I know that I'm not gonna get the pin if I don't finish, I'm gonna finish. So I have put everything that I could think of that would help you guys accomplish a challenge in 60 days. So I just wanna recap what you guys are getting if you decide that you wanna join us for the 60-day novel writing challenge. It is 60 emails from me that have your homework assignment included, 60 videos, which let me tell you guys, I actually recorded those in real time last year. I released one every single day and it was crazy, but I am so proud of the way that they turned out and just the way that the whole structure works to help you write your book. It is so cool. So, okay, 60 emails, 60 days of videos. You get the challenge workbook, which you see on the shelf behind me here. You get your checklist. You get the winner's pin, but only if you finish. And then that doesn't cost anything extra. That's just mailed to you guys at the end. You get access to the Facebook group, and we also have weekly Zoom calls where all of the writers taking the challenge get together. We just chat for a little while, and then we work on our writing. So it's just kind of like an accountability hour to check in every week if that is something that you think will help keep you on track. Now, all of this together, guys, I don't even know how many thousands of dollars this is worth. Like, it's truly, I know I put hundreds and hundreds of hours into those videos alone, and then the workbook, it's a lot. I'm giving it to you guys for $149 because I want it to be accessible to everybody. So if that is something you guys are interested in, we would love to see you on the challenge. All you have to do is click that link below, and then that is going to walk you through how to sign up for it, and then we will send you your copy of the workbook, of the checklist, and how to claim your winner's pin at the end. We'll give you access to the Facebook group, to the Zoom calls. It's going to be a really great time, and we would love to see you there.